All right, sex changes for everyone. Welcome to Between Two Wheels, bringing news and entertainment for things on or between two wheels. Your host tonight are Uncle Ken and myself, Johnny Roblox, and our special, and no, I don't mean short bus, but our special guest is the one and only Dan from the channel Gears and Gadgets. What is up,
Not much. How you guys doing?
I,
man?
be,
Living the dream
I
as much
had
as it can be.
I had one of those fancy thermometers. You know, the ones that have little glass balls in them that float, and they
Like weather
yeah.
vanes or something like that, right?
Yeah, I forget what the real name of them are, but basically it was just a fancy thermometer with the little glass vials in there and shit. Well, this morning I came to my office to do some work, and I bumped my desk, and it's been up there for like a year or so. Today was the day, and it came down to say hi, and fucking exploded like a fucking frag grenade. And I'm still finding glass all over the fucking place. Like I had
And
it all the way, like 20 feet away. I was finding glass pieces and shit.
isn't that thing filled with like some sort of weird like petroleum product too? Because I think I had one of those years ago that broke and it like destroyed my couch.
No, actually, thankfully, it's filled with alcohol, fucking rubbing
Is that what it
alcohol.
was?
Yeah. So everything dried quickly because it was rubbing alcohol. I didn't realize it was full of hand sanitizer. Otherwise, I'd have fucking sold it months ago for a profit. Yeah, fucking glass everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny because you actually have a frag grenade that sits on your desk,
I do.
and you made that comment how it looked like a frag grenade. I was like, oh, the hilarious ironies if it would have fallen off, hit the frag grenade, and then fragged all over the place. That would have been awesome. So Dan, where are you from?
So I'm here in chilly Phoenix, Arizona, 115 degrees today. So I'm actually originally from Buffalo, New York. My wife and I actually relocated to Phoenix 4 or 5 years ago now. I'm kind of losing track of time, but so yeah, been here for a while, and this is our new home.
So you went from cold as balls to hot as balls.
Yeah, and I'll take hot as balls any day of the week because shoveling snow and all that stuff is for the birds. So I have no problem dealing with incredibly hot heat for a few months, and the winter time is definitely worth it.
So
No,
this is going to
fuck me.
sound cliche as fuck, but when I used to work for Harley, I'd go out to Carson City, Nevada, a lot. There you go. There's the frag grenade on the screen. So I'd go up to Carson City, Nevada. So for those of you who don't know, that's actually the capital of the state of Nevada. But I'd go out there for work, and it would be winter time, like January, February, and it would be 14, 15 degrees outside, but I could be out there in just a sweatshirt and jeans and be completely comfortable. So the whole dry heat and dry cold, it is something. It actually means some shit. And I don't mind that type of cold. I don't like that bone chilling cold where you get cold and you come in and it takes you 2 hours just to start warming up and gaining feeling back in your toes and your fingertips. So
See, I'll take cold minus snow and ice any day. It can be as cold as
Yep.
it wants to be. I just don't want no snow or ice.
So that's
Enjoy
my
the
biggest
cold.
my biggest complaint coming from Buffalo. People like to go right to the cold and complain about that, but my biggest gripe is the pretty much after Christmas is over and you're just kind of over it all. It goes to that just frozen tundra, but then it turns to the worst, just slush, rain, salt still on the roads. It'll rain, it'll wash it all off, and then the next day it'll get cold. They'll slam the roads full of salt again. It's just like this never-ending cycle of like mucky garbage crap. So to all the guys that are riding up there, I feel bad for them when they see the pavement get kind of cleaned off, and then like one chilly night they come and just douse the roads with salt again, and it's like shit. I can't ride for like 3 more weeks now until all that stuff washes away again. It's brutal.
well, that plus just the salt in general when it hits just the havoc it wreaks on metal.
Yep.
I would never buy a used vehicle from up north. I can't do it. I'm sure they've gotten a lot better over the years, but no.
Well, see, you see a lot of trucks here in San Antonio that are coming up from the Gulf, and yeah, they're cheap, but there's a reason that they're being sold cheap.
Yeah. So, okay, help us understand the concept behind gears and gadgets.
It's quite an evolution of a YouTube journey. So I started this channel out in 2015, basically with the idea of I want to get a bunch of free shit and review it on my channel. So my whole thing was I have a history of buying unnecessary stuff and my wife hating it. So
Unnecessary to your wife.
yeah, some of it are unnecessary to me even after.
See, it's got intrinsic value because you wanted it. It may have turned to garbage, but you wanted it. She didn't want it.
Yeah. So what was funny was I started this out in 2015 with 10 subscribers, and I found it was incredibly simple to get stuff. And it's funny now because now I'm at like 15,000 subscribers. It's gotten harder to get stuff today than it was 5 years ago with 10 subscribers because there's so many people doing it now that like in the mind of like people promoting product, 15,000 subscribers is nothing. And people have learned not to just send stuff out willy-nilly to whoever. So it's funny because it's actually gotten harder through the years. But I started out as a channel called Tech Checks and Reviews. It was a brutal name. And then it got into like tech. It just started evolving into like this huge title. I even forgot what it was. And I remember I saw Maxwell's channel a while ago. I mean, this is probably 2017 now or something. And I was actually chatting with him when he was smaller. And I'm like, you think I should change the name? So he actually had a huge part in helping me kind of just change direction altogether, which was kind of cool. It was the first time like a larger creator that I realized that they're just people and, willing to shoot the shit with everybody. So it's been a really cool process. So I just decided I'm like, this whole tech thing wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I'm like, I like things with motors and I like, electronics and stuff. So I'm like gears, gadgets. That's kind of like what people, my friends and family, recall, they call me a gadget guy. So it's kind of what I went with and I stuck with it, to be honest with you. I've said it in my last live stream. I actually don't like the name, but I'm with it now and it kind of describes what I'm doing. So I'm trying not to pigeonhole myself. I don't want to only do Harley stuff. I don't want to only do truck stuff. I just want to get home from work after, I work a lot of hours and I have a wife, kid and stuff like that. So when I fire up the cameras, I want it to be whatever I want to do kind of at that moment. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit open and that might change in the future, but it's kind of what it's all about now.
I mean, gears and gadgets, that encompasses
Almost everything.
Almost everything, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything that your demographic would watch.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it covers just about everything. It's not, and that's the great thing about it. And there's the alliteration part of it. People love alliteration.
Yeah, and I just like the fact that the two G's, when I created that logo, it's a gear, and the two G's are kind of gone. They kind of go together like I forget what the word is. There's like that pin that goes around to lock a gear on.
A C-clip?
C-clip, yeah. So the two G's almost like resemble like a C-clip. So I just thought that the logo looked sweet, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going with that. So that's where I'm at, and I'm too lazy to switch it up now. So, and I sell like $0 in merch, so it really doesn't matter, but it's what I like.
Well, I mean, do you have, big boy T-shirts? Because I like T-shirts.
I do, but nobody buys them. I don't promote that stuff. It's tough. I'm not a huge fan of like the Patreon and buy my shirts and I mean, I make a little bit of scratch on the side with this channel. I'm comfortable with it. It's all organic. It grows how it grows. Shade Tree shouted me out a couple days ago, which got me a few hundred subscribers. It was cool. And, I appreciate those little things, but I'm also not going like super hard to start trying to like sell merch. Now, if I went full bore like Maxwell and bought a shop like and had that level of stress and business part of it, I'd be hawking shirts like it was no tomorrow. But for me right now, it's just not a necessary thing for me to have to do. So,
well, I mean, if why not push your merch? What do you have to lose by saying, hey, I got some merch. Link is in the description. That took me 3 seconds to say.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring you on board. You can be my merch hype man. I don't know.
I don't know if you want me to be a hype man unless you want people to fight you and shit.
I think, to be honest with you, a part of it is like, so I use Teespring. It's like the built-in YouTube kind of whatever. The way you price it right now, I make like $2 off a shirt. So it's like, at the end of the day, I'm not now. If I could bring it in house and like print my own shirts, and I could actually sell them for cheaper and have a higher profit margin, it'd be something a little bit more worthy of a promo, I think.
But I mean, $2 is $2, man. And if you got 10 people that buy a shirt, that's $20. That's a couple tanks of gas in the bike.
All right, fine. I'll start selling my shirts.
I mean, that's the whole thing. You never know unless you ask. And you get look, Bike and Bird. Me and him, we own this vinyl decal business, and for a while, neither one of us were advertising it. And then, and obviously, there was one month I made like $40 off of cutting decals, and then he started advertising again. Just on his little Instagram story, or the story, the when you click at the top. And now I'm back up to making a couple $100 a month just from cutting decals, and that's just from him putting it out there once or twice a week.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not against it. I just don't do it. I don't know. It's a tough thing to kind of explain. Even the Patreon thing, like I won't fire up I have, I think, 2 Patreons who accidentally found my Patreon page and just kind of roll with me. And I'm like, that's the kind of Patreon that I appreciate, is somebody who's like, hey, I really want to support you, and here's a few bucks. I don't have anything to offer on Patreon right now because I don't have the time to put into that. And I feel like if someone's going to give you $10 a month or $5 a month, like, you better give them some kind of value out of it.
Well, sure.
It's tough to promote that.
But I mean, if you have Patreon, you're like, hey, give me $1 a month, and that just helps support my channel, and it helps make the videos. These videos are not, yes, they're free to the consumer,
right?
But they're not free to us. I mean, I've put some money into Between Two Wheels. I put money into Bike and Bird's page. I've been a Patreon for Justin for like 2 years now at $20 a month. Because I can,
right?
And I've won one time off of his little monthly Patreon drawing, and usually I don't. I've won twice. First time or the second time I skipped it or something like that.
Yeah, the second time you skipped it.
I don't know. It's one of those things. You got to put yourself out there to get out there. And, as far as like the t-shirts go, you're not having to make them yourself.
Right.
So, that's obviously where the, some of the money goes. You can ask Team Bradley and Bike and Bird. They both did the t-shirt thing, and it's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, all the screen printing and all that stuff, yeah.
The heat press, you got to cut out all your decals for them and shit like that. It's a lot of work.
And see, way back in the day, I used to have a very small fight gear, like MMA style board shorts and rash guards and stuff that I'd sell to different studios, if you will. And I just had them shipped from Pakistan. I found a great manufacturer there that used like the Hanes beefy t-shirts, and they would pre-shrink everything if they couldn't get the pre-shrunk cotton. But yeah, everything, and then whatever the club wanted as their logos on their stuff, I'd print it for them and do that. T-shirts would cost me $1.90 each, but I had to buy in 150 shirt, runs. But at that point, you sell them for $20. You eat the shipping. You're still getting $16. You still get $16 of profit compared to now you go through like we go through Amazon merch for our stuff, and we get about $350 a t-shirt, but I haven't jacked the prices up either. I kept them at whatever the suggested was, and that's kind of where I'm rolling with that. But to your point, I hate trying to promote that stuff. Just really, really do.
Yeah.
Okay, Armando, is my mic and all that stuff better now? I want to go back when I was talking about used bikes from the north. Larry popped up and said, "When do you buy used bikes?" Um, I haven't personally bought. Yeah, I haven't personally bought a used bike,
Anything, anything. I used anything.
uh, but I have helped people through the process, and I am looking for a used bike right now for Project Clean Slate. And that this kind of segues pretty well into what you're saying. We didn't grow our Patreon until we got our nonprofit status, and we grew to just over $100 a month, and we don't take anything out. So everything that to Ken's point, we put money in, and we never take anything out because we're trying to buy a Harley Davidson. So when you start
I hear
looking
those
at
aren't
all
cheap.
these things, yeah, Harleys aren't cheap, and I'm still working out some deals with folks, maybe even getting a Road King donated to us. But I keep getting people saying, "Oh, you're being too ambitious." Well, if I'm not too ambitious, I'm never going to grow.
You can't let fear dictate how you live your life.
No. I mean, if I look,
We could absolutely fall flat on our fucking faces. But you know what no one can say is that we didn't try.
exactly. Yeah. And looking at kind of what you're doing, Dan, when you have reviews, people kind of look at you as a motorcycle YouTuber. But if you look at the amount of motorcycle content versus everything else, you're not really a motorcycle YouTuber. You are a YouTuber.
Right.
And with a name like ours, Between Two Wheels, we definitely pigeonholed ourselves into just motorcycles.
But intentionally.
Correct. And it's one of those things. One of our listeners and viewers, she hit me up and asked me to go through the process of getting on Benevity or something like that. One of those crowdsourcing platforms that you can set up your charity. So I'm going through this process, and it's like every time I type out what Project Clean Slate is, it's just like I get that failure because we kicked this thing off last year. We didn't reach the numbers. Hell, we didn't break $1,000 last year, and now we're moving this year, and this year is going to be the year. I'll figure out a way to make it happen, but we're going to get the bike going. And I don't know. So I'm bringing this up because I want to understand, what does Dan get out of riding?
So, I mean, I'm super basic, man. I just like anybody else. I just want to get out and kind of like clear my head. And honestly, for me, like, you want to know my real motivation for buying a Harley when it came down to like what actually pushed me over the edge, buying a motorcycle. I got this job that I have now, good job, and it was across town, and we have HOV lanes here. And I told my wife, if I take this job, which is for the family, and it's going to be, the pay is going to be good, gotta let me get a bike. That's kind of like, it was sort of my time to leverage. I'll do this, but I want to ride in the HOV lane. So that basically spurred the whole thing. And I was at a point with, so when I got the bike, I didn't really have I didn't know what it was going to mean to me at the time, to be honest with you. I went out when I went to buy a bike. My uncle, when I was younger, was the only person who ever rode a bike. He's Harley ride or die forever. So the only picture of anybody that's ever ridden to me was my uncle, who I have a ton of respect for. So when it came time to buy a bike, there was no doubt in my mind. I'm like, straight to the Harley dealership. And, I found my 2018 Heritage and just signed the papers. So, for me, it was interesting because I basically told my wife, I'm like, I'm going to take this job. it'll be better paying, but I'll pay all my Harley payments and everything out of my YouTube channel. So that was kind of like my thing at the time was like, I can swing this. I just got to a point where I was like, wow, I'm making like, I actually have like a little nut coming in from this YouTube channel. Like I'm going to do something with it. So I went and got the Heritage. And since then I've made all the payments out of my YouTube channel, and it's kind of just been, an evolution now of why I ride. So like I went out for the Bring It Home ride last year and stuff. And it was like, man, for a relatively newer rider, hopping on the bike and riding from Phoenix all the way out to, Paris, Texas by myself, just for the hell of it. Was the most soul searching adventure I've ever taken in my entire life. Rode through the craziest of weather, had moments where I thought I was going to die. It was just like lightning storms, just brutal stuff. And then rode through it, got there, met awesome people. Kind of just stood back and observed. I saw all you guys out there I think you guys were all out there kind of palling around together and, just seeing people and not even talking to anybody, but just like, wow, I'm like in this community of awesome bikers. And, so that Bring It Home ride really kind of defined to me a whole lot of this entire thing. And that's when I really started kind of putting a lot more content around Harley and the brand and really developed like the pushing of where Harley's going in the future and kind of covering a lot of that stuff on my channel. So I know it's kind of a sideways answer, but it's kind of a confusing thing to me because I never grew up riding bikes. So.
Well, so what you're saying is it started from a practical standpoint.
Right.
I want to take this new job, but I don't want to sit all fucking day in traffic.
Yep.
And then, hey, this is a lot of fun. I enjoy this. Get to meet a lot of people. But being a biker, quote unquote, it really is, you're a loose-knit family. I mean, obviously the OG crew, we're obviously tight-knit, but I mean, you show up to a motorcycle event and, if you got a problem, man, just, hey, I need help with this. Does anybody know about, and man, you get answers.
Yeah.
And no one cares that you're on a Heritage. No one cares that you're on a sport bike. No one cares if you're 50 or 20,
And that's one of the things I hate the most about hearing people talk about Harley and getting like, well, I'm a younger guy, and if I buy a bike, I don't identify with the guys that are leathered out from head to toe. And it's like, I don't know how to explain to people like that think that way. You could have rode your bike dressed head to toe in gear. You could have showed up in a full leather riding suit. I mean, you probably would have got made fun of at that point, but
no, not even. Your friends are going to dog on you.
In all reality, it's like, man, everybody on that tarmac at that point, like, was just good people shooting the shit, regardless of where you came from. And it's like, that's really what the community is all about. But people don't know that until they get into it. And it's kind of sad that is the perception out there. I don't know how you change that, but.
Well, people like us, like we try and change that, the only way we know how, and that's by engaging people.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too, where you have Uncle Ken, you have myself, polar opposites, full biker looking beard, clean shaven, the way, we speak to people, all of that. It's very different. But he's one of my brothers, he's beyond one of my best friends. It's just one of those things where you build something out of that one passion, riding a motorcycle or, whatever it happens to be. It could be car clubs, for instance.
Yep.
But, for us, I don't know what your dimensions are, but it seems like big guys seem to always levitate towards other big guys. So Uncle Ken and I showed up to this random ride.
I call that a gravitational pull.
Yeah. And Uncle Ken and I were the two biggest people there, especially when you take into consideration height. So we just came together, and then we found out, obviously we both rode Harleys, but we found out we're veterans and all this other stuff. But all of it spawned from motorcycles and our desire to be around people who ride motorcycles.
Right.
So it is interesting. And, the whole thing around Project Clean Slate is giving a veteran or someone who's still active duty about to transition into civilian life a motorcycle to help jumpstart them and finding a community where they can fit in. One of the other things that I'm working on is building a scholarship for veterans who want to go through motorcycle safety courses. And I got two different nationwide or national schools that are going to cut us a significant deal. So when we get that going, it's about the community. If I can, Ken and I live in San Antonio, Texas. One of the nicknames is Military City, USA. If I can have an entire crew going down to like Cowboy Alamo City Harley Davidson's rider training thing and have it all B2W vets attending that, that'd make me the happiest person on earth.
And that's because you know what the community brings. You know that there's definitely a therapeutic part of just, I've never served the military, and it's one of those things I sort of share with Adam Sandoval, like the regrets of kind of not doing that. So, I do thank you guys for your service and, what you guys do with that. And I can only imagine the burden that a lot of these guys are carrying, and anybody else that's even watching this, I appreciate your service. And, it's just amazing that to me that what this community can bring to what I would call a suffering, community of former, servicemen and women of, I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's definitely a noble cause.
Yeah. And it's
should roll in your eyes.
What's that?
So my favorite response, my favorite response to people who say, thank you for your service is thank you for paying your taxes.
Word.
Because my first Harley happened because of Americans paying their taxes. And that and a Kuwaiti guy pulling out in front of me and slamming on his brakes on a Suburban. Not that I'm upset about that. But Jay is asking, what about a Road King police model for Project Clean Slate? And honestly, it's anything that's 2014 and newer touring model. The first one it has to be a touring model because it's kind of the big kickoff. Vets or active duty military personnel expected to protect the country. So why not give them a motorcycle that they can actually go and enjoy a ride from California to New York? So that's the premise behind the Road King or a touring bike. I like Road King because clean slate, you have the king of the road, it's you and your bike, and just go. That's kind of the concept behind it. So yeah, if that long-windedly answers your question, Jay. So since we seem to be hovering around Harley Davidson, let's talk about some news that's come out. And it didn't really just come out. It's just been jumped on and publicized because I think they needed some news for Harley Davidson. But the Bronx, the Street Fighter from Harley Davidson, does not exist on Harley Davidson's website, except for in one press release talking about the Pan America.
Yep.
They have scrubbed it, and I tell you, they scrubbed it well. I went into the Wayback Machine online to see if I could pull that archive. Yeah, no.
How do they scrub it out of Wayback Machine? I didn't even know you could do that. Writing checks?
Yes, I'm sure.
It's all about I don't go into that deep of cybersecurity.
Good Lord.
But they could have that type of crawler turned off as well. I don't know. It's Harley Davidson. They have the power of the gods. But let's talk about this, the Bronx. And you mentioned it a few weeks, or I guess now a couple months ago, when you were talking about the Rewire plan, and we talked about it, how the Pan America and the Bronx were still on the table. So, what do you think now that this has come to light?
I think that I feel if Jochen Zeitz wasn't making however many millions of dollars he's making on to show up to work every week, I would feel bad for him. But that job is at this point in time probably one of the harder jobs that you could propose to anybody is dealing with Harley Davidson as they sit today and where they're going to be in the next 2 years. I was going to say 5 years, but really 2 years. So, I mean, you look at everything that Levitich kind of set out on the table, and there was some really promising things there. Now, I think the Bronx is just a bit of a casualty, possibly of the coronavirus, sort of, but also Jochen Zeitz looking at things, I think, from a more let's not just throw as much at the wall as we can to see what sticks. I think they're going to try harder to manage the Pan America release, which would be a lot more difficult if you're trying to do that with a Bronx. You know, now you're trying to get, sport bike guys and now off-road guys, adventure guys. You're trying to get all those guys in 1 year when you're already hurting. The company's already, it just seems like it might have just been a controlled, let's pump the brakes and we'll be better for it in the next 3 years than we would if we just kind of cram all the shit out now. Even if they're amazing motorcycles, they may not be able to actually support the production of it at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I heard that it was missing from the new lineup. And I feel like it's a smart move. I don't think they should have completely
scrubbed it
like they did, because then it leaves us to speculate as to why.
But here's the thing: there's been no word that's been scrubbed. And from some of the articles I read about this, Harley Davidson's only response was that they were going to focus the 2021 model year releases on the Pan America. Now, the fact that it came off the website and the custom, whatever that one will end up being, has not. I think that is what kicked off the speculation. And it's folks like us, at the end of the day, we are media. We are in some form journalists, I guess. And it's people like us who are purporting this information. And look, Sturgis went off, and we won't know for a couple more weeks of, how many coronaviruses, corona cases came from that. So they needed something to keep Harley Davidson in a news cycle.
Yeah,
I mean, that's possible.
It's tough because in a way, I've been critical. So Jochen Zeitz, when they came out and said they're going to start announcing bikes now, kind of like early spring or late winter, early spring, which I think is a fantastic idea because I've said it before, is I think motorcycles are like, get me excited today, take my money tomorrow, and deliver the bike to me by next week. And with the Pan America, we've been talking about this bike now for 2 years. So there's a part of me that's wondering how many people looked at the Pan America, got super jacked up about it, and then got kind of like, well, was this bike ever coming? And then ran out and bought a BMW or something. How many sales were cost because they got people all jazzed up that were like, yeah, you know what, fuck it, I'll just go buy something else. But, so by scrubbing the Bronx, they might be doing a smart thing by let us all kind of dog on it today and say, well, what a stupid thing. Now it's gone. Oh, it sucks. But if that Pan America comes out and that new power plant is, incredible, well, now they can come out at the end of 2021 going into 2020 or 2022 and go up, guess what? Here's the Bronx, get everybody super excited about it again, as opposed to right now. It's just kind of been a lot of talk for a long time. And I think that Harley just kind of loses the ability to capitalize on excitement in some of these releases.
Really, it's been all talk.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time, we got to see both of them at IMS, and that's all you got to see. No information on the engine really. on any real specs.
So thinking about it from that perspective and looking at what they're doing, moving forward, if you will, if they used a platform like the International Motorcycle Show and had everything from like January to March to the shows happening there, if that's where they introduced their concepts, it gets everyone jump started, to your point, Dan, and then they go to market in May or in March. They're at the dealerships ready to roll.
Right.
That leads to more of the automotive style. And everyone knows I'm an Apple fanboy, but let's face it, Apple and these other tech companies and companies such as like Tesla, they do a great job of here's the concept. They'll tease it out maybe 9 months, and then they'll I think Apple does it themselves. They'll have like little mini drops and little mini leaks, and then they have their big developer show. Boom, here's the finished product. Oh, it goes on sale,
Next week.
Yeah, next Monday at noon or whatever.
Or even pre-orders. And I think Harley should start taking pre-orders on some of these bikes. You announce the Pan America, get everybody else all jacked up. Don't do it for $100. Take $1,000 from people and say, yeah, you'll be first in line for production. And
because I feel like with the way that this has gone down with because over the last 2 years ish, it's been Pan America and the Bronx. As soon as we found out they filed for patents, we started doing our research, and then and they start dangling it in front of us, and then we go to IMS and like, holy fuck, there it is, I can almost touch it, and now they're like, oh nope, sorry, psych, my bad, and that it's like, what the fuck?
I mean, if it was not Coronaville, we'd be seeing the new models next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, actually, funny? Yeah, because it's usually like the last week of Sturgis, so we would have seen it last week, I guess.
And what's funny to me is I think in a if you want to look at it like, I don't know if cynical is the right word, but like I think there was a huge opportunity for Harley to look at COVID and kind of go like, oh, there's a relief. We can, all right, now we can pump the brakes and everything. And like everybody in every industry, nobody is going to question whether it's valid or not that COVID caused you to do these things, as opposed to if they did it without COVID and they just scrubbed this bike off, that it would just be all over everything. People would be going nuts about it. Like, oh, Harley can't deliver. They can't do this. Right now, it's like, yeah, we can't because COVID. Sorry. So there's a little bit of a benefit to them being able to slow down the pipeline right now. So.
Oh yeah, the virus has definitely caused a lot of that.
And Harley Davidson is known for having multiple models ready to go years in advance. And I think they need to get away from that model.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to be more agile with their design and production, and just being able to get to market faster. Because something else I started hearing about was the new bike out of China.
Yeah, I just saw that.
It's being put on hold. I'm like, why? I mean, you have the market there. People are still buying motorcycles, and yes, the economy is on the brink of tanking. We all know this. And I don't think any of the governments around the world are really prepared for what's probably going to happen. But still sell the motorcycles. If you put time and money into the R&D and then you just drop it because it's not a good time, it's a brand new model. Get it out there. Even if it doesn't sell a lot, if you only sell 10% of your original plan, well, that's 10% of those motorcycles out there that are shaking down, helping you find all the problems before your big run for, when the economy comes back. So seeing kind of what's happening around the pandemic cause, if you will. I don't know. I'm looking at Harley and their stock price. They're up today. I think with the president kind of taking aim at other companies, that's actually helping Harley a little bit. But okay, so let's rotate back into more around YouTube. Now, you recently switched over to the GoPro Max as your motovlogging setup, your rig.
Oh, wait, there's a fucking GoPro Max now?
That's the 360. It's the
I don't have it in
second
here.
version after the Fusion.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, fuck. I don't keep up with this shit.
Take my money.
Right. I mean, I don't even fucking own a GoPro anymore.
I don't blame you.
I've got more GoPros I know what to freaking do with. And I'm getting to the point where, like, this webcam is a GoPro. And what we did all of the studio recording, that was a Hero 5. So, and I'm thinking about moving to just a pure GoPro setup. And, you know, I still have my mirrorless camera and all that. And maybe use those for like those real detail-oriented shots, but everything else go GoPro. I mean, what are you shooting on right now? Is this a DSLR? What is your video coming from right now?
So for live stream stuff, I just have a Logitech 1080p. I don't even know what it was. It was something I just ran to Best Buy and bought for like $80 forever ago. And I have enough lighting in here that it makes any camera look decent. But and then I have a DSLR off to the side. So any of my videos that you see that I shoot in this studio environment, I shoot on a DSLR. It's a Canon T3i, which literally is probably from 2014, I think.
I would say that's quite an old camera at this point.
It's quite an old camera, but it serves the purpose, and I don't really care to change it. So I don't run around like vlogging with a DSLR because the Hero 8 is so ridiculous with stabilization, and I don't know, they're just getting so good that I don't see the need. You definitely get way better picture quality out of a DSLR, but I just don't. The benefits of that over carrying around a brick, you know, I look at those guys that do that. Maxwell does it, and it's like, how in the hell do you do that? Like, for more than 5 minutes, my arm would be tired. So I don't know if he's more jacked than him or what, but
no, you're right. You get tired.
So I run GoPros pretty much for everything, and it's a love-hate relationship. I mean, getting the video, sometimes I can't get the cameras to connect to my computer at times. Like, there's a lot of weird issues that I have. And then the Max is 360, and I added on a 2015 MacBook Pro, which is finally getting pretty long in the tooth. And those moto vlogs, if I record 20 minutes of video, it takes me about 2 hours of converting that into a 360 file before I can get to my edit. Once I get to my edit, it's fine, but it's that now I need to build in, like, I get home, start that conversion process, and then, you know, go and hang out with my daughter and, you know, wife. But it changed my workflow completely. But I don't know. I can't get away from the GoPro stuff. It's so easy.
They're point and shoot.
Yeah.
The thing I like is from the 5 to the 7. That's the 4, 5, and 7. If I go flat color profile, it is flat and it's the same across all of them. Whereas if I go to some flat style profile on my Sony, it's not going to line up. And I just look at the cost, right? You know, you get a 4K 60 with the Hero 8 Black. You can shoot 4K 60 for $400 or $300 right now, isn't it? Like $299. And the Hero 9s are coming out probably next month. Or hell, in a couple of weeks. So you'll start seeing the Hero 8s dropping in price. And you're starting to see it now at places like Best Buy. And you're starting to see a lot of GoPro videos coming up, at least in my YouTube suggestions. So
I haven't noticed that same thing, but Yeah, you know they're coming up with something in the near future. The GoPro Hero 8, it's a love-hate thing with that too, because you can't swap the lens covers, and that they definitely made that a more fragile camera for especially moto vlog type stuff. I tell people all the time right now, I'm like, if you buy a camera, go with the 7 because it's cheaper. It's more, you're more protected with it, and it's fine, but
Yeah, I mean, well, Bikenberg, he ran the Hero 4 Silver forever, and I still think he has a couple of them. He finally got an 8. Because the features you were getting from the 4 to the 8 from the 7 weren't that spectacular.
right.
But then
Yeah. From 4 to 6 was not spectacular.
It all depends on what you're shooting.
Right, but 7, that's where they had the really good time warp. That's where they had their
Audio got crazy good with the 7.
Yeah, they still had the stupid damn brick, but right. if I need like the hyperlapses I did from San Antonio to Big Bend and back, I couldn't do that on a Hero 4. So that's one of the things I like. That and the time lapse mode got a lot better in 7.
But yeah, it all depends on the features you're looking for or wanting.
Right.
If you're going to use them.
Hey, Brandon, you say jump cuts, Dan. Are you calling me jump cuts, Dan, as if that's a bad thing, or are you saying that's a good thing?
Lots of jump cuts. That's what he's looking for. Because in your video, you're talking about how with the Max doing the jump cuts is a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So kind of going into your video around your editing workflow and everything, you're talking about that 2-hour additional piece. Is that because you're transferring it from the GoPro Max directly to the computer? Or are you taking the SD card out and popping that into your computer and doing it like that?
So I'm not super pro on this at this point, but you can export them either by connecting the camera, USB-C, or taking the SD card out. But the problem I have is that those files come out of the camera unrecognizable by Final Cut Pro or anything. So you have to take that file and then put it into
Quick or whatever.
Not even Quick. They have this thing called Batch Exporter, and it takes that file. And there's another thing I do too, which they have, since there's 2 lenses opposed from each other, there's a feature where you turn on like this next level of optimization, and it does a better job of stitching those 2 images together, which also slows down the process. But so basically loading the files off of the camera takes, I don't know how long does it take to offload 10 gigs of data, not too long. But then it's the conversion process, which is just ungodly slow. But again, it's my computer. It's not the Max. It's just if you're using an older computer, a Mac, at least in my point. I haven't really tried it on PC, but
I mean, you talk about, you said you got a 2015 Mac, right? So, what would help with that is if you were to push your merch and you get some more money in to upgrade your computer.
I need one Patreon for $40,000 a month for 1 month, so I can buy the new Mac, the tower totally maxed out.
The Mac Pro.
All it takes is one Patreon for 1 month for $40,000. That's it. I don't know.
Just
by the way, I have nothing to offer you. By the way,
you have content.
Oh yeah, you can watch my content for free with everybody else.
I mean, look. I mean, when people donate to us for Project Clean Slate, they're not getting.
Yeah, I get it.
They're not getting nothing. I mean,
so our top tier patrons, after 6 months, they do get a shirt.
Okay, yeah. After 6 months of being a Patreon, you get a T-shirt.
And at $70 a month for 6 months, we'll send you a T-shirt.
I mean, look. I mean, if people really enjoy your content, they will support you how they can.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. Pimp your fucking T-shirts. Pimp your fucking Patreon. You have nothing to lose.
I get it, but honestly, I have a couple years to save up because right now, Apple's switching to their own silicon, which is a relatively big deal. They're going to upgrade their computer line next soon, actually. But then I probably won't buy the first go around of it just because it's their first year of their own silicon. I probably won't buy that one.
So again, you know what would help that? If you start prepping your merch now and saving your pennies and dollars.
Right. So, because when you buy a machine like that, I mean, especially at this level of YouTuber, like you're with that machine for the next 4 or 5 years. You know, like you're kind of rocking that thing for a while until you get to John Maxwell level. Then you're good.
I mean, look, you go to fucking the Harley shop and you buy a T-shirt and it's $40, man. I mean,
I don't do that very often.
see, so.
Oh, I get it. The dealership wants to make some money, and they have to pay for the rights to use all those different artworks, and then they have to pay to have someone put their names into it and all that. I get it.
Child labor is expensive. I get it.
No problem with any of that stuff.
Or child labor lawyers are expensive.
So, oh geez. So at $2 a shirt, you only need to sell 2,300 shirts, and then you could afford a pretty decent,
Did you take taxes out of that?
Well,
I'm not the money man.
well, you're not going to pay taxes on $6,000 or on $4,500.
Oh, right. Cut it off. Right. Yeah. You got to cut it off right there. Gotcha.
Well, no, you're not even going to get notified, or your stuff's not going to get sent to the IRS until I think $10,000.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So it's funny. YouTube says now I'm eligible to have members on YouTube versus my Patreon thing. And I started doing the math on it.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Is this the one where like they pay you like $1.99 a month, and you can? I think I've seen this on some other ones, and you get maybe some extra behind the scene content, or maybe nothing at all.
Yeah.
We can give them like little icons next to their names when they comment.
Yeah, we can make emojis.
Yeah, emojis, flare.
40% cut out of those, like they do with the.
They're taking a 30% cut.
That's 70 cents on the dollar, man.
Well, I get that, but
Is that half full? 70% full.
Yeah,
I'm kind of there with you on this. I'm thinking about dumping Patreon and moving over to something that is more charity. Now, again, in our situation, we are a 501c3. So I've been looking at different fundraiser types of things, but I tell you what, it is a pain in the ass trying to grow a nonprofit when it's me and Ken, which really means it's me. But yeah, so I'm learning more around how to really pimp out Between Two Wheels. We have a new logo coming. With the change, with us losing Justin to, the whole fatherhood bullshit.
fucking kids.
We're kind of updating the style, the look of how we're doing things. So I think we've come down to our final draft. These poor people over in, I think, the Philippines, this is what Ken saw and what he kind of approved this morning was like revision 10.
Oh man, you're making. Are you doing this on Fiverr?
I am, and it says unlimited revisions.
Oh man, I should have gave you my guy that did mine. He fucking knocked it out of the park.
So here's something I've been thinking about. One of my big inspirations is Donut Media. Big fan of all of their content. They're taking next week off, and now my feelings are hurt because I won't have new 18-minute episodes to watch. But I kind of like how they have their segments. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to move to. So one of the ones that we've kind of been discussing is like a two-wheeled history segment. And a lot of people have been asking about, when are we going to go back to recording podcasts? And I want to get your opinion on this, Dan, because you are a content creator. With the podcasts, that is a negative sum game. We make absolutely zero money from the podcast, and I pay $20 a month for the right to host it. Now, YouTube, we make money for Project Clean Slate. I'm not doing anything extra, and a live streaming platform such as StreamYard, it's $20 a month. And I'm trying to weigh out my options here. I can't have the podcasts for free. I have to pay for hosting. And starting next month, we're shifting our hosting over, so I may be able to get away with it. But I'm thinking about, do I get rid of the podcast and we focus strictly on YouTube? Or do we figure out a way to stream the YouTube audio for the podcast and just figure out a way to host it for free? What are your thoughts on this?
Man, that's tough because we obviously have different, I guess, goals in mind. I mean, you guys obviously doing the charity thing, and I'm just doing this to kind of churn out a little side living that I love doing. So, look, I guess here's my thing is that it all depends on what your end goal is, and if your end goal is to raise money, then you need to go where the money will eventually be. And YouTube, I know the YouTube world, so I get it. And with enough exposure and stupid amount of work, obviously it's doable. But I see this, like, the podcast thing to me is crazy, because I found myself too going like, yeah, I should start up a podcast. But then it's like, well, that doesn't generate anything. Same with TikTok. You have like people right now generating like incredible content on a platform that they can really only monetize if they get 25 million followers so that Dunkin' Donuts cuts them a check. And it's like that long game is so crazy, but it's such a time suck. So really it just kind of comes down to me of like, where do you spend your time that's going to have the ultimate end road payoff, which to you guys I would say is probably YouTube. But then if you can find a way to, as you're creating YouTube content, maybe edit that down to also then become a podcast, great. It's kind of like the Joe Rogan thing. Like he's sort of mastering the doing a podcast that also then is on YouTube, that he's kind of double dipping, but he's also fucking Joe Rogan already making it. So it's just hard to look at those things and go like, wow, this guy's doing it super smart. It works. Yeah, it works because he was the first guy to do it. And
It's fucking Joe Rogan. I mean, he was
Right.
fucking famous. He
so,
already had a fan base.
and it's obviously it's a bullshit answer I'm giving because I don't know the answer to that. But in all reality, I just look at, we live in a world of like a million different kinds of media, and what where do you go to make the money that ends up either paying the bills or raising the money for the charity, or making all the time. I mean, the time I put into this stuff is insane.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if people totally understand that. Like the people who watch you who have 0 subscribers and just watch YouTube, I don't think they totally get it. So, and what you guys do, it's like to put that podcast together, that's time and effort and money, and for no payoff seems.
So yeah, and that's the hard part. We'd have to go and try to get product sponsors.
Right.
Product sponsors would rather give you a product than money. And
you'd rather have money than product.
Right. For us to reach our goal, we have to have money. And that's always the charitable thing, right? You always need money. And it's just insane. To file the taxes for a nonprofit was over $100 because you can't free file anywhere.
which is ridiculous in my opinion.
But I don't know. One of the concerns I have is I'm going away from a medium that got us to where we were
Right.
or got us to where we are. Now, obviously, back before COVID, when we were doing podcasts regular, we had to have 1,900 downloads a week. Now, somehow, in the 69 or 70 episodes we've published, we're still getting 300 to 400 downloads a week on average. And I don't really want to, I don't know, I don't really want to alienate the audience that trusted us and we built through the podcast. At the same time, I'd rather put that money to StreamYard or something like this that helps me and helps Ken create more content that makes, has a return on investment. To your point, I've just been super freaking lazy and I still haven't put all these parts on my damn bike just because I know just filming it's going to take me 6 hours to bolt on some parts. And
And that's one of the reasons that Justin has went away from us coming over for the builds is because it adds, your filming already adds time, and then you add in someone else, it adds more time.
And when you have a family and a job and all these other things, like you're trying to cram that type of stuff into a window that the more you're already complicating it by filming. So now it's like, oh, now I got to wait for these guys to come over. And they're like, ah, shit, you know what? Now it's I've been away from my family for the entire day and it's a lot to juggle.
It's a second job.
It's absolutely a second job.
I mean, whether you're having fun or not, it's still a second job. It's using your time. So like look at Jay. He just posted, take the product, give it away to the people that buy your merch. I mean, well, with us being a nonprofit, there are certain things we can and can't do.
Correct. So it gets incredibly wonky, and with this being our second official year, I really don't want to do anything to put us on any government radars. But yeah, if I take in a product and they are expecting me to talk about the product, they're not allowed to claim it on taxes because they are receiving a benefit. It's just like when we were doing the saddlebag giveaway. Everyone who didn't win got a tax write-off. The guy who won did not because he received something out of it.
Yep.
So it's weird and it's a lot of hoops, but as soon as we give away that first bike, it's on. So
it's getting over that final hurdle of your first event.
Yeah.
And everything that leads up to it. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, as you often hear. And it takes time. And there's people that are upset about it. I don't know what to tell you, man. We're doing our best. We're not scamming nobody. I sure as fuck haven't taken a dime. So I mean, it's a
slow go. I mean, the whole thing of building something ground up, it takes a lot of time and effort. So
yeah, I mean, and like I said, we could fall flat on our faces and have everyone laughing at us, or we could turn into the next multi-million-dollar, charitable organization for veterans by veterans.
Yeah. Like Wounded Warrior without the scandals.
Right.
I mean, what do you guys find? I mean, what do you find? I know you're still trying to work out all the details and kinks and everything, but I mean, do you guys enjoy the podcast platform more so than the YouTube platform? Like, where do you see I guess the enjoyment factor of it, which you guys aren't, you're doing it more for the money raising aspect. But if you guys are, whatever way you guys enjoy doing it the most is going to translate into whatever content you're producing, which then in turn is going to produce into raising more money quicker. So it's kind of a chain of
I'm kind of neutral about whether it's podcast or YouTube videos like this. I liked the podcast because I can definitely be more vocal and people don't slap my pee-pee out of my hand for saying naughty words that hurt your feelings.
One thing I find interesting and I like the most is when you guys come on at an interesting time for me. Like, so for me to come in here, like it's 7:00 here. So my daughter goes to bed at 8. So when you guys come on, usually it's like my phone's sitting on the recliner next to me and I'm like watching your content. But to me, I love like getting a window into some other creators kind of like world. Because when people see me here, it's just me shooting the shit. There's no editing. It's just, this is who I am, like it or leave, love it or leave it. But there's a visual effect to that where I used to listen to your podcast riding into work. And when I'm listening to your podcast riding into work, my mind is like, I'm like ADHD. So I'm like thinking about when I'm getting to the office, what I got to do. And I tune out for 10 minutes and then it's like, shit, I got to rewind it and like re-listen to the whole thing again. So I just find videos more engaging even when you're unengaged because you can kind of glance over and pay attention to it. So
yeah,
I like the video format, but I'm also biased because obviously this is,
we get those complaints, whatever you want to call them, of people who miss the podcast because of that. They can get in their car, get on their bike or whatever. Whereas obviously YouTube, you got to be attached to a screen.
Yeah. And that's
everyone.
You guys are a little bit more for like geared towards podcasting, so it's probably a little bit harder to jump to, make that jump to YouTube stuff. But
that's what we started with. I mean, we were just doing the podcast,
and then we were just video recording us doing the podcast. That's how our YouTube channel started.
And then that fucker Joe Rogan copied you guys, and now he's making fucking millions of dollars. That son of a bitch.
He was doing it. He was doing it before us.
I'm trying to create some controversy so he gets to get you guys a little exposure.
Yeah, there you go.
Does he ride motorcycles? Let's get his ass on here.
So I went on a ledge and I reached out to Jesse James, and my shit hasn't even been read by him. I mean, damn, we're neighbors. He's here in Austin. I'm about an hour away from the area that's generally known to be his area.
I mean, he can't get that many freaking emails. Come on.
Right now, he's probably getting emails. You hear his monkey broke into his neighbor's house and jacked off in their house.
Whoa, what?
This happened this weekend. I have no idea how I saw this article, but he has a monkey, and it bolted from his house.
What?
Knocked on his neighbor's door, or was jiggling the handle on the neighbor's door, so the neighbor actually opened the door and it ran in, and I think it said a boner. So I don't know if it was drunk.
The fuck?
Look it up. It's a good read.
So here's one thing. So I was watching your intern. Well, okay, I was watching part of one of the intern series. Well, I was just watching the one with the hot chick that's now I guess some kind of weather girl or newscaster or something. Yeah. What'd you think about that experiment?
I think I felt bad for those kids because I knew that they were coming into an opportunity of a lifetime that they were immediately going to be shit on the entire by the entire Harley Davidson fan base, and like they were kind of walking into a brick wall of a hurdle to clear. But in all reality, I look at it as a huge failure of an opportunity. I talked to each one of those I call them kids, but they're all freaking grown adults now. But they were all interns, and they were all pretty incredible people. And so I don't know. It just to me seemed like something that Harley sort of tap danced around, half-assed promoted, barely promoted. People forgot about it. Are you reading the article about the monkey?
Holy shit, dude.
I was wondering what you were laughing about.
I'm fucking crying, dude. So of course it's the TMZ article,
Take care, Rosie.
but it's fucking funny.
Yes, Jesse James is busy.
The monkey's name is Toby, and apparently he's a teenage little monkey of sorts.
Wait. The monkey's name is Toby.
Yeah, Toby.
Right, right when Toby Northern shows up.
Oh man, that's
Incredibly busy. I have all this shit going on, but yet I have time to read an article about Jesse James monkey with an erection breaking into his neighbor's house.
yes. Toby, Jesse James's monkey, Toby James, is a 4-year-old. I think he's a macaque, which is even better.
Oh God.
And he's 4 years old, which is a teenager in monkey years. And he 100% had a boner.
Is the neighbor hot?
It didn't say.
Let me clarify.
See, that's where the media screws up. They don't give all the details. See, it's fake news.
God bless. That's fucking funny.
Oh, jeez. So now that we've crossed into the bestiality segment of the show, let's jump into the anti-shade tree surgeon questions. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but it's 3 questions that Shade Tree absolutely hates. So now we ask every person who's a guest on our show these 3 questions.
Sure.
Where is one, like the most bucket list ride? If you could go anywhere in the world to ride, where's your bucket list ride?
Where do macaques live?
If I had to go total bucket list where money wasn't an object, I think like countryside of like Germany or something would be like really cool just to ride around there. But something more realistic that seems more bucket listy is renting a bike in Hawaii and just kind of spending a week. I'm not like a huge go far guy, but like just ride all day and check out local spots sort of thing. So I think Hawaii would be a great place to ride.
I think you'd only need about a day and a half to cruise.
Right. But in my opinion, I'd rather cruise the same island for like 2-3 days and just kind of explore. But yeah, Germany is a pipe dream. I'm like 200 subscribers away from being able to afford something like that. So
I mean, hey, you know what helps with getting that money?
Fucking t-shirts.
Oh, Ken's gonna become your merch pimp. So,
and we're starting an OnlyFans next.
That's where that special spelling of bear hug comes in. Okay, so what is one piece of gear that you must have when you go riding?
Definitely helmet.
Okay, what kind and why?
Showy because it fits my enormous noggin incredibly comfortable. So I bought a Showy to start riding, and it's so comfortable that I don't imagine a world where I even try anything else because it's just I don't know, I'm comfortable with it.
Worth the investment is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that helmet. Back the RFSR and the 1200. I go 1200 now, but they're relatively similar.
Yeah, I saw your motovlog setup. Why do you have your helmet mounted camera like hanging down?
I saw a mountain biker that posted some stupid mountain biking YouTuber who I don't even know how I found his content, but the idea is if you put the camera up, it's naturally going to point down, and if it's pointing down, you're missing kind of a whole lot of what's ahead of you. So if it's actually down and pointed up a little bit, you're actually getting more of like a broadcast of the road. It's like a weird thing. I tried it out and looked at the 2 different camera angles, and I just like it upside down. So,
all right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's because some stupid mountain biker told me to do it, so I do it.
There's some interesting shit out there, but that's what's kind of cool about being a content creator is going out and trying to kind of innovate something that is your style. I mean, these guys talk probably mad crap about me behind my back because I had a half shell helmet with my GoPro flipped upside down to be almost almost eye level as much as you can. And I
No,
used,
I'm pretty sure we talk shit to your face.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen it.
So it'd have the camera like this,
Mhm.
and then I had the Cine GoPro backpack thing. So then the comms coming out of my Cine were crystal clear going into that. So it was a way that I could still rock my, rebel to the world for those rebels who wear helmets, wearing a half shell. But okay, final question. Money is not an object.
No,
What bike do you buy?
that's a good question. You know, I would love to say like, I don't know, like a CVO, but for some reason I struggle with like any of the CVO line for the sake of not wanting to be the guy riding around a CVO. So like right now, if money were no object and I could buy any bike, it'd be probably like an ultra limited right now, just for the sake that I feel like it makes you look like you're still part of the people by not, going CVO. But that's my ultimate right now. That River Rock Gray ultra limited with the blacked out trim, I think is a sick bike.
Ken, you're muted.
Oh, yep, I'm muted. Yeah, no, it is. It is definitely. I agree with you on that one. I mean, I've got everything that a CVO has pretty much without the CVO price tag.
Right.
So, we did an episode a while back for the podcast where we priced out
Yep.
and we looked at building your own. Now, with the release of the big the big bore kits, that entire price model shifted drastically more in favor of building your own than buying a CVO, because a lot of the stuff that's on a CVO for me, I don't want.
I don't give a shit about their paint job.
Well, I do want their gas tank. I do prefer the clean dash and just having that side fill. I do like that. I don't like the middle thing, but that's a personal preference, and I can go get a Road King tank and get the same effect.
Oh yeah.
There's something about a CVO to me that says like there's a part of it that says I have money, I'm unapologetic about it, and I love Harley Davidson. Like all those things are all fine, but to me it's like you have to get to, I think it's like an age thing or something, but I would feel pretentious at 37 years old kind of riding around on a CVO, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody else who can do it, but to me it just seems like a kind of a weird move.
It's an expensive fucking bike. There's no doubt about it. and I feel that going the route that I did and putting on the parts that I wanted, I've got a better bike. I mean, I know I have a better suspension than what comes on the CVOs. I mean, I got Legends front and rear, and they're fucking glorious. I mean,
Here's a question for you. Do you guys watch that $1 Million Bogan who does those crazy videos?
I watched his. I watched one of his trip videos where he was driving across Australia, and it was pretty good. And I haven't watched any since.
He does some batshit crazy stuff on, and he takes a lot of heat from Harley guys because he fucking destroyed a brand new Road King special.
Well, he's got fuck you money though.
But he has fuck you money, and that's my point. So he's the kind of guy. He just went out and bought a new CVO, and it's like, okay, you own a real estate company, you drive a Ferrari, you fucking love Harley more than anybody I've ever seen as far as like content creation goes. Like he bought a Harley and a Road King and was like, I have mental health issues. This is my release, and I'm going out and I don't. People are like, you're destroying that bike, you asshole. Yeah, he's like,
ripped off his fucking oil pan,
crushing these bikes, and people are like, "How dare you, you stupid motherfucker!" But at the end of the day, he's like, "This guy's." That's how he's taking care of his mental health issues, is by going on these journeys that none of us would have the balls to even go do. I mean, this guy's crushing. I mean, ridiculous riding.
Oh yeah.
And, so it's like, yeah, you want to go out and destroy your Harley because it makes you happy. Go do it. If it's something that makes you, whatever. And then you want to go buy that Harley Davidson CVO and flaunt the fact that you've made it, and and you're not just doing it for, I don't know, whatever. But
so here's what kills me when someone has a CVO Harley, they're a douchebag. But when they are rolling around in a limited Ram 3500 dually with a Cummins diesel, they're just gearheads. You have an $80,000 truck that, yes, from a utility perspective, makes a hell of a lot of sense compared to a CVO
Yeah.
limited. Or what is the trike is 50 grand. So
Right.
there we go. It's weird what $40,000 means. I mean, you look at was it a limited CVO like 47, 48, something like that?
Something.
And you look at what, like Uncle Ken and our bikes, they're damn near 30K. There's not a huge difference there.
Yeah.
Because $17,000 is a lot when you're buying a $17,000 bike, but when you're hitting $30,000 and you start looking at a $47,000 motorcycle, the price difference is maybe $200 a month, $250 a month. So it is weird to see. And, like the guys who have the channel Daily Driven Exotics, they catch so much grief, but that's what they do.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, your dollar is worth a different amount than my dollar.
Well, and that's why I try to preface by saying, like, I have no problem with the idea of a CVO. I have no problem with the idea of somebody going in and plopping down $55,000 on a motorcycle if they want to sell it. I really don't. It's like, what kind of douchebag do I want to be? And I'm not saying that I think they're douchebags, but you're talking about like these trucks. The Ram just came out with a TRX that you can option up now to $90,000. If I had the money, I'd go buy that stupid $90,000 truck that I have no need for whatsoever. As I'm sitting here saying I wouldn't buy a CVO, so it's all stupid.
It's all priority, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like the guys who go and start buying up all these exotic cars, that's all business expenses.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of folks don't realize. When I have my motorcycle, if I'm doing something that's specifically for Between Two Wheels, I keep all the receipts for that stuff and I tally it up because that's a business expense.
Yep.
If I'm paying for the hosting, well, that's coming out of my pocket. I can claim it on my taxes as charitable giving. So, look, all these different aspects of how people move money and shift money around, it still comes down to folks who have a CVO are the same people who have a Softail Standard. They're people on a Harley Davidson, or more importantly, they're people on motorcycles. That should be the only thing that matters. Now, yeah, if someone has the money to have a beautiful motorcycle, because CVOs are beautiful bikes, great. And look, I had folks that I kind of looked up to and kind of used as my litmus test of how am I doing in life. And, they had CVOs. They were, C something O in their title, and they've worked their way to that. And now I look at, where I'm at in my life at 37, and where do I go and how do I continue to get where I want to be? If someone look how much shit I get for trailering my bike. But something? None of that means fuck all to me. Someone gives me shit for trailering, cool. I'm comfortable as hell when I get there. My back's not sore. My hips aren't sore. I'm not tired and worn out. And the next morning, I'm ready to go ride.
You know what you need is a $90,000 Ram TRX to trailer that bike around.
Yeah. And if you sell enough T-shirts, you can get that truck.
45,000 shirts. All of your fans, all your subscribers, just go buy 3 shirts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start up an OnlyFans. Is what I'm gonna have to do. Is that the only path?
The way to do it, just have more videos with your baby.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Get the female, your female base up. Then all of the pink advertisement happens, and you rake in some money.
I can't put my daughter on YouTube. I can't do it. My 4-year-old daughter.
Why not? Exploitation is what children are for.
I get it. It's very similar to t-shirts. I just can't. No, I tell you what. So the kid thing to me, I would be less objective to it. But my wife has a relatively dangerous-y job that we try to keep our family stuff off of YouTube as much as possible. So
she's in a cartel, isn't she?
Go with that, sure.
No, so
a little more on the up and up, but
yeah
we try to just keep that.
Sure. My brother-in-law, his wife is Mexican, and they don't put anything on her profile. They'll have pictures of just the kids, but nothing in the background, nothing like that, because they don't want to be targets for kidnapping and things when they're down in, I think it's like the Monterey area. But yeah, I think the big takeaway, Dan, from you coming on this episode is you need to sell more shirts.
I'm logging on to Teespring right now because if there's not one t-shirt that was sold during this entire episode, I'm going to live it.
Wait, okay. So you're hoping to find out. I hope one of you freaking people bought a
There
t-shirt.
better be 45,000 shirts sold out of this one episode.
I don't know.
0 orders.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we have a relatively small channel. Maybe you should go over to your bigger channel and
tell them to buy some
I
t-shirts.
swear to God, if you don't pimp your t-shirts on your next video, I'm gonna lose my shit. You'll never come back.
My next video is going to be me standing behind this table like an infomercial, only selling my shirt.
I swear to God, you better fucking do it. You better do it.
Hey,
I want the first minute of your
Watch my
video.
subscribers go from 15,000 to 4.
So
I want
Dan,
the first minute of your video to be you, infomercial style, buy that table, sell it a t-shirt.
okay, so here's what we need to do, Dan. I need you to get me the height of that table. And Ken and I can get in front of a green screen. And
40 inches.
40 inches. Okay, so we just need to have it. We'll green screen it, and we'll come up with something, and then you can just plop us in behind.
Like a fucking ShamWow.
Oh, fuck.
Ken, when are you heading out of town?
Friday.
Shit.
It'll be even better because I have no idea how to do green screen stuff, so it'll look epic.
Man, you know what would help with green screen stuff? You had a newer computer.
By selling more damn shirts.
So I need a newer computer to put the infomercial together to sell the shirts, like chicken and the egg. How do I do it? How do I get there?
No, the newer computer just makes it easier.
Oh, right, all right.
Yeah.
Get there.
Oh, okay. Dan, we see you in the chat from time to time. We appreciate you watching our content, you and, the 15 other folks. But we really appreciate you coming on, especially with short notice. I literally pinged Dan yesterday and he's like, yeah, I'm free. I wish other content creators that I reach out to were as flexible as you are, but no, man, I appreciate you coming on. Please continue pumping out the content. It's fun. It's engaging. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, it was a good time, man.
Yep.
Awesome.
So everyone out there, thank you for tuning in, and just remember, be yourself. Unless you're a jerk, then be someone better.